team. I'll start with some trends. I think this is probably not surprising. The world is changing. When is the world not changing, right? The world is changing all the time. But now what we're looking at is a number of trends that are impacting potentially the way that you operate your networks and the way that you work with your applications, right? The adoption of public cloud is growing, right? It's expected, but it's becoming more and more something that has an impact on traditional workloads. The hybridization between the data centers, public clouds, the inter-cloud type of workloads that are going from one cloud to another, they're all adding complexity to the way that networks are deployed, right? And then on top of that, the utilization of SaaS applications in conjunction with the transition of workers from being in office spaces to moving into mobile type of environments where potentially they're working from home or working from coffee shops makes the control over the network a lot harder, right? If you had your old world with workers in a branch, your network under your complete control, possibly through MPLS, and your servers running your applications, you were in full control of everything that was happening. And nowadays, you're losing control faster and faster of more and more of the pieces. From a SaaS perspective, when you're thinking about SaaS, that control is being given to the pros, right? That control is being given to the people that are building the applications. But the span of control is limited to the server, right? When it comes to the network is not there anymore. And so when there are performance problems, the performance problem cannot be imputed to the SaaS provider. The SaaS provider doesn't have control over your network. And so that's where Riverbed can come in and help. The other important trend is the cost of security breaches, which is an implication of the impact that these security breaches can have. And so the importance of security when it comes to looking at applications, even monitoring applications, monitoring what's happening to your applications, are all things that are very important to us. And one a little strange fact might be, hearing it from Riverbed might sound like it's fabricated, but it's not. This is not. It is true. This is a study that has been conducted. MPLS is growing. MPLS is not shrinking. And now, the way that MPLS is growing might not be the way that it used to be in the past. It might not be as fast. But definitely, while SD-WAN is gaining more traction and Internet is becoming more and more of a potential valid replacement for MPLS, customers are still looking at SLAs and are still looking at ways to control some of their more high priority traffic in a more controlled environment. And that's where MPLS is still playing an important role, with the changes in the way the applications are performing that are causing more traffic to need to go through these pipes, right? High quality videos or larger files, because presentations are getting huge, right? PowerPoints nowadays are very large. All of these things are contributing to the need to continue to grow MPLS while customers are potentially still backhauling to data centers instead of going direct to internet from their coffee shops. Okay, and so while all these changes are happening, Riverbed has not been sitting still. We have built our own strategy about our four core solution areas. And if you look at these slides, right, this is describing specifically the focus that we're having, the renewed focus that we're putting on some of these areas, specifically on the WAN optimization side. This is something that has obviously been very critical to Riverbed's success in the past, but nowadays we still feel that WAN optimization has still a very significant value for our customers. When it comes to WAN optimization, some of the new things that we need to do now compared to what we might have had to do 10 years ago are definitely interoperability with SD-WAN. While some SD-WAN vendors might tell you that when you're using SD-WAN, you get all the performance improvements that you need, we feel that in reality, SD-WAN is a critical component to make your network cleaner. But at the end of the day, you also want to continue to optimize your workloads, do data duplication, or optimizing the way that your TCP connections are getting sent around the network. But that interaction, that interoperability with SD-WAN is critical today. The other area where we feel that WAN optimization is important is in the area of security. From a security perspective, clearly SSL and PFS and all of those things are making the network less visible in a way. And so if you want to be able to optimize, you need to be integrated with security, and TLS 1.3 comes to mind as a trend or as a technology that is going to conquer the world. And so for that, we want to be ready for TLS 1.3. The last place, looking back to those trends and to those changes that we were talking about earlier, the last trend that we want to explore with WAN optimization is the utilization of networking bandwidth in the cloud. So when you think about cloud egress costs or region-to-region availability zone to availability zone costs, these networks are expensive. And so internally we like to joke that this is the new MPLS in a way. It's an expensive network that is going to cost significantly. And so if we can maximize the utilization of these networks and minimize the cost, that is something that we feel with our WAN optimization solution we can do. And then the next pillar for our strategy is SD-WAN, and I mentioned SD-WAN a couple of times already. We have just launched Still Connect EX, our best-in-class SD-WAN solution. Our thesis is that SD-WAN is enabling simplification of network control. But on the other hand, SD-WAN is a journey too. And SD-WAN requires a transition from your pre-SD-WAN network to your wonderful SD-WAN only land. And that transition is not a thing that happens in a minute, that happens in a day. The transition takes time. And during the transition, you're going to have to operate in a hybrid environment, in a mixed environment, where you have some of your network that is leveraging all the SD-WAN capabilities with all the simplicity offered by SD-WAN, and some other portion of your network that is using traditional networking protocols and going the classic route because it's not been migrated yet. How do you make that interoperate, right? You need to have an SD-WAN solution that allows you to create that interoperability, and we feel that Still Connect EX is in a great place to enable that transition. But beyond that, there's also an aspect of security, again, for your networks that the SD-WAN solution can offer. Our stack includes very good security capabilities that can be enabled together with the SD-WAN piece. And then the third pillar is the application acceleration pillar. When we're looking at application acceleration, I think Riverbed is first in a way for some of this technology. Our focus here is in creating acceleration for applications on the client side and on the application side, wherever the application might be. So specifically, if an application is delivered in a SaaS form factor, that shouldn't preclude us from being able to optimize the network and to accelerate the application by making the network more efficient. In a way, when you think about SaaS applications, and specifically, we have a strong focus on optimizing, accelerating Office 365, since it's got such a big impact and such a big adoption curve with customers. When you look at optimizing these networks, for us, it's like looking at this environment where you have your users that are working from anywhere, you have this network that you don't control, and you have an application that is working very well, that is completely well-performing. But now, how do you patch that network you don't control, right? It's, in a way, application acceleration is about patching that network, making the network more efficient so that the user experience when you go from your clients and to your SaaS can be fully optimized. And that's what application acceleration enables you. And the last pillar here is the network performance management pillar. I mean, Riverbed has been well known for their capabilities on the visibility side on-prem. Now our focus is to extend those capabilities also to cloud workloads and to SaaS workloads, right? Again, that focus on SaaS that we're having is spanning not only on the performance side, on the performance acceleration side, but also on the performance visibility. So being able to see where you have bottlenecks and what can you do to fix those bottlenecks is going to become increasingly critical for us at Riverbed. So if you look at this again, our focus is clearly on optimizing performance and visibility for networks and applications, right? While we're not living inside the applications, we are really at the edge of the application. So with that, we think that we're in a very great place to be able to enable those performance improvements and the performance visibility. So before I pass it over to the team, to Brandon specifically, I just wanted to summarize this in terms of the complexity, right? I've been hand-waving a lot the three different core areas, right? Users on the right hand of the slide, networks in the center, and applications and servers on the left side of the slide. When you look at this, customers are finding themselves within this complex environment, a lot more complex than what we had maybe 10, 15 years ago. And this is not a static thing, right? This is an evolving environment where different customers are going to be in different places with different curves of adoption for different technologies. And this is a journey. Every customer is going to move through this journey at their own pace. And what we want to highlight here is that from a Riverbed perspective, I think we are very well positioned to help customers in whichever place they are on that map, on that journey. And so we have technologies that can enable that connectivity and optimization of that network performance for whatever type of workloads that the customers are currently adopting.